In the previous video, we discussed the general requirements and suggestions for setting up your accounting integration to work with Corecon. Corecon provides a utility link called QuickBooks, which allows Corecon to speak with your accounting integration, moving transactions and records back and forth. In this video, we're going to discuss how to set up that Corecon link for QuickBooks Pro, Premier, Enterprise. In doing this, the Corecon link allows Corecon to speak with the accounting package. It allows some records to move back and forth and transactions to be completed in Corecon and moved over to QuickBooks so they can be recorded as job cost and correctly recorded on the general ledger. There's also a workflow diagram in Help that will help us understand what information is moved between Corecon and your accounting integration. If we go to Help in the Resource Center, go to Getting Started. In this case, again, we're talking about QuickBooks Pro, Premier, Enterprise, which sometimes I'll refer to as QuickBooks Desktop. And we're going to choose the awarded project with Intuit QuickBooks integration. This workflow diagram is color-coded and has a legend here at the bottom so that you can find information grouped together by feature or menu item in Corecon. You'll notice that the lines that point one direction represent exported transactions to QuickBooks Desktop, and the lines that have arrows on either end are going to be synced between the two. So once the information is created in Corecon and matches the information in QuickBooks, records are synced and linked so that information updated on one side can also be updated on the other. Those records include companies, employees, and tax items. The other transactions that are recorded in Corecon that will be exported to QuickBooks Desktop include labor time cards, miscellaneous expenses such as employee reimbursements, credit card charges, and also bills and subcontract invoices. Prime invoices or progress billings will also export to QuickBooks as invoices. Because QuickBooks Desktop is a desktop application, we do need to download a program that will allow the two to speak. Corecon is a web-based product and needs some conduit to be able to speak to QuickBooks Desktop. Before downloading this program, which will appear on your desktop as an icon, you'll need to go into your QuickBooks Desktop, whether it be Pro, Premier, or Enterprise. Make sure that the company data folder has been opened in QuickBooks. You're also going to need to make sure you're logged in as an administrator with security administrative rights to QuickBooks, and then you'll come up to File and make sure that you're open in single user mode. You'll also need to make sure you have administrative security rights to your desktop and that you're able to download exe files. If you're using a remote desktop, a cloud server, or VPN connection, you'll need to go to your IT provider and ask them to download these for you, most likely. So let's go to Corecon Help, which is the question mark at the top right-hand corner, and go to Integrations and down to QuickBooks Pro, Premier, and Enterprise. If you're running on a remote desktop or hosted service, you're going to want to come to this article. And the best thing to do is just copy the link to this article and send that off to your IT. You need to make sure that your Microsoft.NET framework is version 4.6.1 or better, and you'll ask them to download the CoreconLink for QuickBooks Pro, Premier, Enterprise icon. If you're not using a remote desktop or cloud server, you can come into the installation instructions. First thing you'll do is go into this free download. It's Microsoft.NET Framework, and just make sure your desktop has been updated to the most current driver. Next, you'll come down to this option, Download and Install CoreconLink for QuickBooks Desktop, and you'll click right here. This is going to download an icon on your desktop that looks similar to this. Once you have that downloaded, we're just going to open the program. You'll log into CoreconLink just like you do to the Corecon Pro and click OK. If this is your first installation of the software, this is going to end up being blank and you're going to click New. When you do that, Corecon is going to go out and look for an open version of QuickBooks running on your desktop. It's going to look to make sure you're logged in as a security administrator and that you have single user mode open. Once that's done, there is a security certificate that will open on your screen. If it doesn't pop up on your screen, scroll down here to your tray, and it's usually blinking. When you click on it, you're going to see a security certificate that looks something like this. This security certificate from QuickBooks is asking if you want to grant CoreconLink for QuickBooks access to your QuickBooks company data folder. We suggest one of two of the options. The first one is yes, whenever this QuickBooks company file is open. When you do this, you'll always have to remember to open QuickBooks before you open the CoreconLink. Also, when you close, you'll need to close the CoreconLink first and then close QuickBooks. The other option is to select yes, always allow access even if QuickBooks is not running. The advantage to the first of these two options is that you have a second layer of security. Once you've run the process and CoreconLink has already connected to your data, you'll no longer need to connect using the New button. From that point forward, you'll always connect using the Connect button. When you do, you're going to see something like this for the first time. The path to your company data folder in QuickBooks will appear here. The description is whatever you want to call it. You're just describing a connection between Corecon and QuickBooks Desktop. Most likely it would include your company name. The next two options under Contact Management determine the priority in which records will sync between Corecon and QuickBooks Desktop. We recommend that you leave it at the option that reads Use Last Modified Entity as Master. However, you can choose to prioritize Corecon over QuickBooks or QuickBooks over Corecon when records sync. The same is true for the employee sync options. Same recommendation, same options. Next, we'll go down to accounts payable. You may have multiple credit card accounts on your general ledger. However, we're just choosing a default credit card account at this point. That would most likely be the one most commonly used in your company. Also, we're going to specify a default bank. And of course, this would most likely be a checking account and not a savings account. Again, just a default. Next, we're going to talk about a sales tax item. This is a specialty item that's used only in the case where bills and sub-invoices have tax added to them. In QuickBooks Desktop, there's no availability of a separate sales tax line in the vendor and AP section of QuickBooks Desktop. And this allows a separate line to be created when invoices are imported to the QuickBooks side. This is only applicable if you have a special need for charging tax to vendor and AP invoices. The next preference is also a GL account. If you'll recall our previous video, we discussed not only the need for individual general ledger accounts, but that each general ledger account had a specific account type set up in QuickBooks. In this case, this will most likely default if it's set up correctly. If you have more than one, you're just going to want to pull this down and select it. Again, we're looking for a default AP general ledger account. The next is job cost linking. And you're going to see this 3 times throughout the preferences. There's several options, and most likely you're going to choose for the default AP item, the CCUNC. We discussed this setup in the previous video. This is a service item in QuickBooks, and it's going to reference the GL account for the cost of goods sold, and it also references the revenue or billing income type account in your general ledger. This is used as the default when CoreconLink cannot find a match between the job cost codes in Corecon and the service items in QuickBooks. The process is that CoreconLink first looks to the job cost code and tries to find a match in QuickBooks. If it does not find a match in job cost codes, it goes back to Corecon and looks at the division classification or master cost code referred to as division. It looks then back to QuickBooks and tries to find a match. If none is found on that second tier of decisions, it will dump the record into whatever service item you've designated at this spot. Most likely, you're going to go down to the job cost code linking options, and you have several options. You could link all job cost codes in Corecon to a single service item. You could also auto-link the AP service item based on the job cost codes that they find in Corecon. This is an exact match only. There are other options here, but you can only choose one. For example, you could link items based on the cost resource. You could link AP transactions based on a project classification, which is customizable in Corecon. You could also match on a job cost code description, exact match. And the final one is to match by project number. We recommend either the auto link AP item based on the job cost code, exact match only, or link all job cost codes to a single AP item. I'm going to choose that first recommended option and change the default AP item to CCUNC. Next, the option for class linking. If you're already using class linking in QuickBooks, you may want to consider using this. However, most of our customers do not use this option. It adds an additional layer of detail that has to be reconciled. But you could set classes up in QuickBooks to match based on resource type, project classifications, or the internal job cost grouping. There's also bill type linking. These bill types can be set up in Corecon however you see need, but in each case you're going to need to go in and match these. You'll notice when we pull this down, they can be matched as a bill or a credit card purchase or as a check purchase. If you're using bill type linking to record credit cards as bills, you'll definitely want to designate an item, and you'll also want to designate a credit card account. In this case, the corporate credit card, this could be American Express, Visa, MasterCard, whatever you're using, maybe even a Home Depot card, and you're going to determine that this is going to be exported as a credit card purchase, and you're quickly going to be prompted to select a GL account that's a credit card type. You also have the option to export items from Corecon to QuickBooks as a check purchase. When you choose the export as a check purchase, you will be prompted for a default bank account on your general ledger. In this case, I'm going to leave this as export to bills. The rest of these are going to end up as vendor bills in QuickBooks. The next preference is the Bill Memo field preferences. This is a simple reference that's going to be attached to the record when it gets imported into QuickBooks. The common place you'll see these after this is set is on vendor check stubs. I prefer to select project number and project title and bill subject, but you have several options. The miscellaneous expense payment type determines how the miscellaneous expense records are imported into QuickBooks. Now, in this case, we want to take a look at two different methods. We could use miscellaneous expenses to record transactions for three different purposes. The first would be an expense report or reimbursement report that's been submitted by an employee. In that case, the payment type is asking the employee, first, where did you purchase whatever it is you're asking for reimbursement? And secondly, it will ask, how did you pay for it? In this case, it'll be cash, check, employee credit card, and other. And to do that, we're going to export these as check purchases. The other option is credit card purchase. We'll come back to that. When you select export as a check purchase, you're going to come over and it's going to prompt you to enter a default bank account. If you have a corporate credit card that your employees are tracking, where they're using your credit card to make purchases instead of their own, you'll want to set up credit card payment types in Corecon, and they will appear here, and then come back and match these up. So in this case, the corporate credit card is going to be exported as a credit card purchase, and when you do, you're prompted for a default credit card account. Similar to the bill memo field, we also have a miscellaneous expense memo field with several options to choose from. You can also choose to combine expenses to summarize these expense reports on a check. The next option is the subcontract invoice retainage preferences. If you do need to track retainage on subcontract invoices, simply check this to show retainage in QuickBooks. It will prompt you for a retainage service item that we discussed in the previous video. We'll just come down here and click that service item that we set up in QuickBooks, and we'll also do the same for the default AP billed retainage. We have another memo preference, in this case just applying to the subcontract invoices, and you have several options to choose from. We have the ability to set the QuickBooks billable status to match the billable status as it was recorded in Corecon. Under accounts receivable, you'll be prompted for a default AR item. If it's been set up correctly, it will have an account type called accounts receivable and will appear here automatically. Under job cost code linking preferences, the same is true when we were speaking about vendor bills before. You have several options, but we're going to want to click the default AR item. You also have the ability to auto link AR items based on job cost code with exact matching. You also have the option here under accounts receivable for class linking, if that's something you've been using in QuickBooks already. And you also have the ability to show retainage or not show retainage. In this case, I'm going to show retainage, and we're just going to select the service item we set up in the previous video. Another prime invoice memo field, just the description or reference that shows up with the transaction when it's imported into QuickBooks. You have the option to choose to export time cards to QuickBooks or not. If you are, some other windows will appear. Again, another job cost code link option. I'm going to select the CCUNC and the auto link exact match only. Also, you have the ability to set the billable status in QuickBooks to match the billable status in Corecon, and another option to use class linking preferences. Next, you're going to have a payroll item, and the payroll item and payroll code, payroll description here on the left are the ones that match what you've set up in Corecon. When you see these appear, most likely this column will be blank at the first time you come here, and you'll just need to go in and match these up to match whatever you're calling those items in QuickBooks. In QuickBooks, there's no additional description. It's just this item itself. In Corecon, we have an item and a description that goes with it. So we're just matching these up to however you have this set up in QuickBooks. If you do not have double time set up in QuickBooks, you may just want to post this one to overtime. And then finally, the tax codes. Once these are imported, you'll be able to match up the tax codes in Corecon to how they appear in your QuickBooks. Finally, there is an option at the bottom left to disconnect from QuickBooks. This is not how you get out of this program. This is actually severing the connection that we just created. Usually you'll only use this option if Corecon is directing you to do that. But now that we've finished all of our sync preferences, we're just going to click Save. In the next video, we're going to discuss how to use the CoreconLink to QuickBooks desktop sync. If you're done, just remember, depending on the security setting in QuickBooks, you're going to want to come up and log out of CoreconLink before you log out of QuickBooks. To find more information about the subjects we covered today, there are two places you can go in this case. CoreconLink has its own internal help system. You can simply go to Help, View Help, and most of the information is found in this resource, with additional information and additional subjects. You can also see this same help system. I'm going to open Google Chrome. I'm going to go up to the Help, go to Integrations, CoreconLink for QuickBooks Pro Premier Enterprise, and then come down to the CoreconLink for QuickBooks Help System.